The President. Members, the officials, good morning. Questions. Question 1, Mr. Chan Siu-hung. Thank you, Madam President. Over the past decade, the Hong Kong government has invested more than $200 billion through various dedicated funds and funding schemes to support the development of innovation and technology, covering areas such as smart city development, enhancing the INT ecosystem, and promoting the development of strategic industries. In this connection, will the government inform this council? First, given that various policy bureaus have launched projects about supporting INT development, whether the government will fully review the effectiveness of such project. Second, there are views that the current funding model has led to the dispersal and duplication of government resources and the failure to focus on strategic development directions and create synergy. Of the mechanism put in place by the government to ensure that the fund allocation approach of these projects can tie in with the current needs of INT development in Hong Kong. And third, as it is learned that the authorities in Singapore regularly launch 5-year technology development plans to coordinate the development directions and fund allocation of various projects, whether the government will refer to the practices of Singapore or elsewhere to establish a mechanism for coordinating the allocation of resources in support of INT development. Secretary for Innovation, Technology and Industry. President, having consulted relevant government bureaus and departments, we give our consolidated reply to Mr. Chan's question as follows. Innovation and technology are drivers for economic growth and the key to enhancing competitiveness of our industries. The Innovation, Technology and Industry Bureau, or ITIB, which is responsible for formulating holistic INT policies, has always been following the development directions and strategies set out in the Hong Kong Innovation and Technology Development Bureau promulgated in 2022 in guiding Hong Kong towards our vision of an international INT center. The blueprint calls for a focus on the development of INT industries of strategic importance, enhancements to the INT ecosystem, and promotion of the interactive development of the upstream, midstream, and downstream sectors. In the upstream sector, we endeavor to consolidate and strengthen our universities' robust research and development capability, fully leveraging our ability to achieve pioneering breakthroughs. As for the midstream and downstream sectors, we have launched various schemes to promote the one-to-N transformation of R&D outcomes and the industry's development. The current government launched 3 $10 billion schemes, including the Research, Academic and Industry Sectors 1+ scheme, which aims to expedite the transformation and commercialization of research outcomes, and the New Industrialization Acceleration Scheme, which aims to encourage industries of strategic importance to set up new smart production facilities in Hong Kong, and the INT Industry-Oriented Fund, which aims to channel more market capital to specified emerging and futures industries of strategic importance. The HKSL government pursues a clear and consistent INT industrial policy to devote resources to support emerging and future industries that show growth potential and can generate economic value for Hong Kong, taking into account global technology trends and our local edge. In particular, the Innovation and Technology Commission under the ITIB, through various funding schemes under the Innovation and Technology Fund, encourages and assists universities, research institutes, and companies in Hong Kong in upgrading their technologies. Each funding scheme under the ITF has a specific objective, scope, and operational model. The ITC reviews the operation and effectiveness of its funding schemes from time to time, and also launches special calls for projects in view of the latest technological development to address ever-changing societal needs. Meanwhile, relevant government departments and bureaus will also introduce initiatives in their respective policy purview in response to the needs of specific industries to complement our country's high-quality development through technological empowerment. For example, the Green Tech Fund under the Environment and Ecology Bureau aims to encourage and support projects with greater prospect of realization and commercialization of decarbonization and green technologies that can expedite low-carbon transformation and enhance environmental protection. The Smart Traffic Fund under the Transport and Logistics Bureau supports enterprises and organizations in conducting research on and applying vehicle-related technologies to promote long-term development of smart mobility in Hong Kong. On resource allocation, the HKSER government takes into account the overall fiscal position as well as policy priorities, including policy initiatives that promote the development of different technologies implemented by different bureaus in mapping out arrangements each year. The purpose is to precisely direct resources to technology projects with strategic importance and enhancing synergy in interdepartmental collaboration. In fact, the HKA government's efforts over the years to support INT development have been gradually paying off. The overall INT ecosystem in Hong Kong is becoming more vibrant. The number of startups rose from 1,500 in 2015 to more than 5,200 in 2025. Hong Kong Science Park and Cyberport are two INT flagships. They have collectively nurtured and supported around 20 unicorns to date. Hong Kong has also achieved outstanding performance in different INT-related international rankings. In the World Digital Competitiveness Ranking 2025, Hong Kong ranked 4th globally, up 3 places from 2024. We continue to do well in technology, remaining 3rd globally. The Shenzhen-Hong Kong-Guangzhou cluster ranked 1st in the 2025 Global Innovation Index ranking of the world's top 100 innovation clusters for the first time. Hong Kong is also the only city in the world with 5 of the world's. We also ranked 4th globally under the survey done by the International Management Institute. Hong Kong is also the only city home to 5 of the world's top 100 universities. That shows Hong Kong has universities with teaching and research excellence, and we're also home to top-notch research talent. Looking ahead, the HKSER government will proactively align with the National 15th Five-Year Plan and draw up a 5-year plan for Hong Kong for the first time. We will seize the immense opportunities brought by our country's development. The 5-year plan will set out strategies to consolidate and enhance Hong Kong's position as an international INT center and vision as well as core targets of Hong Kong's INT development in the next 5 years. This is our all-out effort to facilitate Hong Kong's better integration into national development and our contribution to national development. We will give play to our strengths to serve our country's strategic needs. We will closely monitor the latest developments in the INT space. We will adopt an open mind. We will look at our needs and we will refer to the experience of different regions overseas. We will adopt a multi-pronged strategy. We will adopt a comprehensive and all-round approach to promote Hong Kong's development into an INT center so that Hong Kong can contribute to our country's drive to build strength and achieve self-reliance in high-standard technology. Mr. Chan Siu-hung. The Secretary's main reply says, the Innovation and Technology Commission looks at the latest technology development and launches calls for projects based on those considerations to respond to ever-changing needs in the community. But the industry has told me about the slow approval process. Technology is a race against time, and because of the slow process, the industry misses out on opportunities. Is the hold-up in the approval due to a shortage of staff, or is it because of inadequacies in the process? How do we make sure that the lengthy approval does not hold back our INT development? Secretary. The Innovation and Technology Commission has been a rigorous gatekeeper to ensure proper use of public funds. From 2019 to 2023, the Audit Commission conducted audit on the work of the ITC. Rigorous approval of applications aside, the ITC strives to grant the funding as soon as they can. This involves a balancing act, and this means the government and the applicant have to work together. With all the information there, the department will handle the application expeditiously. Mr. Chen can look at the situation in the mainland and in Europe. Most of the time, the fund is granted once a year. The ITC in Hong Kong adopts the same practice. Whichever scheme we're talking about, we grant the fund once a year. This is because once an application is received, we have to look at a pre-review, and the process goes through deliberations at the committee stage. This is a global practice. The same goes for the mainland. the central government and the local ministries and their funds adopt the same practice. Each of our funding schemes has a different purpose, scope, and operational model. For our funding schemes, we try to shorten the approval process for businesses. Project life cycles tend to be, or rather, the project approval usually takes a few months. The funding goes from thousands of dollars to $100 million. So you cannot compare different funding schemes apple to apple. Now, for most funding schemes, especially those for businesses, have set performance pledges for businesses from 5 working days to 2 months. The ITC also ensures that for most applications, once the applicant provides all the information needed, they can finish the approval process within the timeline. Within 20 days, the approval can be granted. I have talked to the ITC about room for expediting the approval process. In most cases, the applicant has to provide all the information needed. Circumstances vary from case to case. The government's position is clear about the ITC. When it comes to applications from the industry, from businesses, we try to shorten the approval process. The member wondered whether it's about a shortage of staff or inadequacies in the procedure. We're talking about public funds. We have to ensure public funds are properly spent. Indeed, we are short of people. There are only that many people with the right qualifications, but we get a vast amount of applications every year. Take a previous scheme, we got 10,000 applications. Despite that, I have asked our departments to do what they can to meet the needs of the industry. Thank you. Mr. Albert Trung. I'm looking at the $10 billion schemes over the years under the ITIB. In 2023, we got the Raise Plus scheme. In 2024, we got a $10 billion new industrialization acceleration scheme. And then in 2025, we got the $10 billion INT industry-oriented fund. These schemes guide capital to our industry so that we can make an industry out of our R&D outcomes. But then for small and medium enterprises, they struggle to tell which scheme is for them. My question is for the Secretary. Given all these support funding schemes, do we have a dedicated department that provides one-stop advisory and guidance for businesses looking to apply? Secretary, we launched many schemes over the years. We have schemes not just for universities, but also schemes specifically for businesses, especially for SMEs. As at the end of March 2026, the fund funded 83,000 projects. For research projects, there were 6,800 of them. Most of the remainder were about support for SMEs. We have roughly 300,000 SMEs. That's a vast number. The ITC's approach is this. The Secretariat is with the ITC. So interested SMEs can call the hotline or go to the website of the ITC. There's a chatbot. So that's where you will get one-stop advisory services. Aside from these channels, we also have bespoke solutions for each fund. Take the new industrialization funding scheme. To date, we have funded roughly 130 production lines. Through the Hong Kong Productivity Council, as well as other relevant bodies, we help the ITC with publicity. There's another scheme, not under the ITC, but under the ITIB. We have the Digital Transformation Support Scheme. We have entrusted this scheme to Cyberport. Under this scheme, we have targeted support, and for the first phase, we funded roughly 9,000 businesses, most of them being SMEs. So this is the Digital Transformation Support Pilot Scheme. Now, with the funding approved by the Legislative Council, we will also add elements of AI to this DTSPP. Altogether, we're funding roughly 30,000 businesses based on all the projects over the years. For all the schemes we have launched, including the $10 billion schemes and also all the INT support schemes, these schemes are for SMEs. We want businesses to achieve upgrading and transformations with technology. This is a two-way process. We reach out to SMEs. We also want SMEs to look out for information provided by the government. Once again, I thank Mr. Albert Chuang for his question. Ms. Elizabeth Quat. The government is committed to INT. I support that. Over the past decade, more than $200 billion was committed to INT. I'm also in favor of that. People want to see what applications there are from all these technologies. How do we measure the investment, the contribution of such investment for us? Now, take the new industrialization funding scheme. 120 production lines are funded. We know how many production lines there are. But how about the profits generated? What about the jobs created? What about the productivity gains, the output gains, and the profits, as well as the boost to our gross domestic product? Does the government conduct such assessments? Will such reports be made public so that the public can get a sense of the details? Secretary. There is a follow-up, there is assessment for each scheme. If some schemes are doing well, we double down. For other schemes, if they have done what they're supposed to do, we no longer pursue those schemes. 19 schemes were assessed and consolidated. We looked at their benefits. We reduced the number of such projects from 19 to 10. We now have the INT-oriented fund. We have the new industrialization acceleration scheme. So now the number of schemes has gone up to 13 again. INT is a major challenge for Hong Kong. This is crucial to our future. One key indicator we look at is the contribution of manufacturing in INT to our GDP. Over the past 2 years, we achieved a growth of 7 to 8%, but we are not happy with that number. That's because the past investments have yet to show their full returns. Take the NIAS. We see investment of nearly $3 billion. 70% of the money comes from businesses. That's solid investment. That involves land in Hong Kong. They are creating manufacturing facilities. They set up production lines. They hire workers. All of that takes time. But at this rate, if we go on, our new industries and technology sectors will thrive. Take the River Loop. Nearly 80 businesses are there in the loop. They have taken a lease of 40,000 square feet, and they have the support of our NIAS. We're laying the foundations. We stick to this direction and we will see results. Mr. Ken Wong. Thank you. Singapore and elsewhere hold the R&D outcomes under their state authorities, and then there's licensing for industrialization. Will we adopt a similar practice so that publicly funded research R&Ds can be held by the government, meaning the government holding the intellectual property, so that we can turn the outcomes into government property? Secretary, Hong Kong is unique. We have to believe in the market. My question for the member is that if we vest all the intellectual property rights in the government, will that do any good for our economy, or should we stick to the current approach? Meaning, we leave the IP rights to the universities and companies? Which way is better? We can keep discussing this matter. We are trying out new approaches for some key projects supported by the government, such as the project through Inner Hong Kong and other channels, especially for projects of strategic importance. We encourage commercialization in these projects. For these projects, as in the case of universities, third parties such as universities may hold part of the IP right. This is an area that merits further exploration. Our concern is to create a favorable ecosystem. The government does not hold the IP rights, but universities do get involved. We can further discuss this matter down the road. Professor William Wong. The 15th Five-Year Plan proposes a far-sighted approach to plans for future industries. This includes quantum technologies, deep sea, and aeronautics. Hong Kong has this responsibility to help our country in such a push. In maritime research, quantum, and aeronautics, we have the foundation. In our funding for INT, do we have any plans for specific future industries? Secretary. We have several clear directions for our future: life and health technology, AI and robotics and data, high-end manufacturing, new energy and new manufacturing, etc. Aligning with the 15th Five-Year Plan means we have to leverage our strength to serve our country's needs. Let's take a look at examples. Take aeronautics. We had a call for project. We also set up the Inner Hong Kong research centers. Or we can look at quantum computing or maritime exploration. These areas are under consideration. Our goal is that in the soon we will come up with a plan and we will update LegCo on that. For those members who did not get to ask supplementary questions, you can put those questions at the relevant panels. Many members are concerned about how to support and promote INT, so will the Secretary please provide an update on the relevant panels?
Question to Mr. Peter Shiu. Thank you, President. Quite a number of micro, small and medium-sized enterprises, or MSMEs, have pointed out that government funding schemes are crucial to the cash flow, and these funding schemes have an adequate greater impacts on the operations, particularly during the current period of economic transformation. Some members of the industry have pointed out that there have been delays in the vetting and approval process of the SME Exports Marketing Fund, or EMF, with the waiting time of certain cases exceeding the authority's service performance indicators. The Bud Fund implemented enhancement measures in March last year, including making adjustments to the matching ratio and initial payments, etc., all of which have affected the cash flow of MSMEs. In this connection, will the government inform this Council 1. Of the lead time between the Trade and Industry Department's receipt of all necessary documentation from the applicants of EMF and the disbursement of funding support in each of the past 3 years, with a tabulated breakdown of the number of applications by lead time. That is, 1. Within 30 clear working days, 2. After 30 clear working days but within 9 months, and 3. More than 9 months. 2. Whether it has ascertained if the applications mentioned in Part 1 of the question have experienced delays in the vetting and approval process, if so, of the details. And 3. Given that the enhancement measures for the Bud Fund have been implemented for more than a year, how the authorities assess the impact on the operation of MSMEs, and when a review will be conducted. Under Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development. President, the government has been adopting a multi-pronged approach in promoting diversified development of SMEs, among which the SME Export Marketing Fund, EMF, and the dedicated Fund on Branding, Upgrading and Domestic Sales, or BUD Fund, provides funding support to encourage enterprises to expand the markets outside Hong Kong by participating in export promotion activities. As one of the measures addressing the COVID-19 pandemic, the EMF has been implementing these special measures from the end of April 2021 to the end of June 2026 to cover exhibitions targeting the local markets and online exhibitions, as well as relaxing the eligibility criteria to cover non-SMEs. Since 2018, the government has also launched several rounds of enhancements to the BUD Fund, including the injection of a total of $7.75 billion, expansion of the geographical scope, phased increase of the cumulative funding ceiling per enterprise from $500,000 to $7 million, and the launch of Easy BUD and e-commerce Easy, etc. The consolidated reply to the three parts of the question is as follows. Under normal circumstances, the Trade and Industry Department, or TID, will complete the processing of a valid EMF application within 30 clear working days from the date of receipt of the duly completed application accompanied by all necessary documentation, and the processing time may take longer for complicated cases. Complicated cases usually involve applications which are suspected to be non-compliant with the funding requirements or conditions. The processing time of individual complicated case varies according to factors including whether the applicant can provide all necessary documentation in a timely manner, the overall number of applications, case details, and the complexity of the case, etc. For general applications, the EMF has been able to meet its performance pledge of completing the processing within 30 clear working days from the date of receipt of the duly completed application accompanied by all necessary documentation in the past 3 years. Complicated cases which take longer processing time accounted for about 30% of total number of applications in the past 3 years. Overall speaking, the processing of over 99% of applications was completed within 9 months after the receipt of all necessary documentation. Detailed breakdown of the numbers is at Annex. In recent years, the number of complicated cases has increased. Relevant cases mainly involve applicants' enterprises which have included refunded payments by organizers or their related parties into declared amounts of actual expenditure in order to obtain higher grant amounts than they are entitled to. We have also found that the organizers and exhibitors of some promotion activities may have omitted or misrepresented information or even made false declarations. Therefore, all applications for relevant activities are subject to further review, hence requiring a longer processing time to ensure proper use of public funds. The TID has been maintaining close liaison with the industry and applicants' enterprises and continuing to allocate manpower in a timely manner to process applications, enhance the workflow of handling applications and computer functions, streamline processing procedures, revamp the EMF webpage layout design, and so on, with a view to enhancing the processing of EMF applications. For complicated cases suspected to be non-compliant with funding requirements and conditions that require longer processing time, the TID has provided further guidance via the EMF Guide to Application and Application Form, facilitating applicants' enterprises to declare truthfully all the relevant costs of the activities and the related information. Meanwhile, the TID has reminded the organizers via the guide to list out the details of refunds in documents of the activities to facilitate declaration by applicants' enterprises. We have also stepped up publicity through various channels, including the EMF webpage, notices of the EMF, e-newsletters of the Support and Consultation Center for Small and Medium Enterprises, or the Success, to strengthen deterrence against the relevant non-compliance or illegal acts. On the other hand, the government implemented rationalization measures under the BUD Fund since March last year, with a view to utilizing the fund in the most productive manner while ensuring its financial sustainability. In 2025, the BUD Fund received around 5,350 applications, an increase of over 210% as compared with last year, in 2019. The total approved funding amount increased by over 320% during the same period, indicating that the trade's demand for the BUD Fund has remained strong. Besides, participating enterprises agree that the BUD Fund has helped them in various areas, including enhancing corporate image, brands, products, services awareness, and their overall competitiveness, etc. As at the end of March this year, around 98% of the enterprises that responded to the project completion surveys considered that the Bud Fund was useful in supporting their business development. Around 98% of the enterprises that responded to the annual tracking surveys considered that the Bud Fund was useful to their long-term development. In March 2025, the government has also rolled out enhancement measures under the Bud Fund, including relaxation of the frequency for easy Bud submissions and provision of more targeted funding support for projects involving green transformation and restructuring of production lines. In addition, the government plans to implement a series of measures announced in the 2025 policy address and this year's budget in the second quarter of 2026. Including expansion of the geographical scope of the Bud Fund, increase of the funding ceiling per easy Bud application from $100,000 to $150,000, as well as the provision of more targeted funding support for enterprises to implement projects which involve AI elements. Therefore, we need time to assess the financial implications in respect of various measures. We will continue to manage the fund prudently with a view to enabling more enterprises to receive funding support and maintaining a wide coverage of beneficiaries while ensuring the financial sustainability of the Bud Fund. We will continue to keep in close touch with the trade, constantly review the operation of the funding scheme, and make adjustments and enhancements when necessary. Thank you, President. Mr. Peter Shiu. Thank you, President. Just now, according to the Under-Secretary, the service pledges to vet and approve the applications within 30 days. However, one-third would exceed 30 days. Some may even last as long as 90 days. We understand that we need to deal with complicated cases seriously. If false documents and deceit is involved, we need to guard the gate. Now, however, for those eligible and honest enterprises, beyond the waiting time, there is even a longer lead-up time before that. Documents have to be circulated among departments, so according to the trade, they would like to see streamlined workflow to shorten the waiting time. So how can the government deal with these cases, as well as complicated cases, more expeditiously? Under Secretary. Thank you, President, and thank you, Member. As mentioned in the reply, for 70% of general applications, we can fulfill our pledge to process the cases within 30 clear working days. Now, for the remaining 30% of the cases, many of them involved the so-called refunded payments arrangements, as mentioned in the reply. So let me delve a bit more into that. Now, due to business factors, or to make the promotion activities more attractive, the organizers would provide some refund or concessions or rebates, discounts, donations, reimbursements, and publicity and goodies in other forms to the participants. These would be regarded as refund arrangements. So these refunded payments would render the actual expenditure of the applicants lower than the declared expenditure amount. So these refunded payments must be excluded from the declared amount. The organizers and applicants must provide the relevant information to the TIC, including the refunded payments provided by the organizers before and after the activity. Now, as mentioned in the main reply, in the application guide, we have reminded the applicants' enterprises to provide all these documentations. So depending on when the organizers and applicants can make available these documents, we will process the application as soon as possible. Mr. Andrew Van. Thank you, President. Now, amidst uncertain geopolitical uncertainties or landscape, cash flow for SMEs is strained. So will the government make use of more digital tools, for example AI, to speed up the vetting process by vetting the proposals more swiftly? This will help improve the cash flow for SMEs. Under Secretary, thank you. In terms of speeding up the vetting process, last year we have launched the Easy Bud scheme. Now, normally it takes 60 days to complete vetting for bud application. Now with Easy Bud we can complete vetting for applications with lower funding amounts within 30 days. Now we have redeployed manpower from the relevant departments and bureaus to speed up the vetting process. We also use AI to screen the applications and shorten the vetting time. Thank you. Mr. Ronnie Chan. Thank you, President. The main reply has stated the time required for completion of vetting. So the government is still quite efficient in the vetting process. However, can we have different tiers for different industries and SMEs? So for industries, with usually less hurdles in the application process, can we speed up the vetting process for those industries? Under Secretary, I thank the member for his suggestion. We will consider the suggestion after the meeting. Now, either it is EMF or bud fund, we don't have different classification in terms of industries. As long as the enterprise is eligible, we grant the application. Now, for complicated cases involving complicated documentation and other hurdles, we would put the application on hold so that other eligible application with documentation ready can be processed first. So we will continue to strive to rise up to our service pledge. Mr. Jonathan Stewart Lampert. Thank you, President. Now, according to my SME friends, there are lots of agents helping SMEs to apply for bud fund. Now, just imagine if the application process is so simple and easy to understand, then these agents would not exist. It's exactly because of the complicated application process and the stringent requirements for documentation that SMEs need to engage these agents to complete the process for them. So will the government consider relaxing the requirements and take the user's perspective and streamline the application procedure? Under Secretary. Thank you, President. I thank the member for his questions. We don't encourage SMEs to engage agencies to file the application for them. Now, to assist SMEs to come up with proposals and complete the application themselves, we have come up with a series of measures, including streamlining and simplifying the application form, and also providing pictorial guidances on the webpage to help the SMEs. We also have videos of successful applicants sharing their experience. Now, we have also established the SME Reach Out starting from 2022. The SME Reach Out provides free of charge one-on-one consultation services for SMEs to apply for government support. So we can enhance the service level of the SME Reach Out. Now in 2023, we have injected more funding to expand the SME Reach Out. Now every year, the number of beneficiaries under the one-on-one consultation service has increased from 1,400 to 2,400 each year. So we encourage SMEs to make use of these free of charge resources, especially the consultation services provided by the SME Reach Out. We are eager to help SMEs to apply for the funding themselves. Mr. Nick Chan, President, under the current geopolitical landscape, our country's technology is widely sought after by businesses in other countries. So many businesses are inquiring how they can make use of Hong Kong brands to sell their products to overseas market. So is BUD Fund the most suitable funding scheme for them, or are there other more suitable funding scheme? Under Secretary, now the original intent of the BUD Fund is to help enterprises to tap new markets, conduct branding, and upgrade their business. Now, in terms of helping local businesses to export their products overseas, we have a lot of other policies. Now, of course, BUD Fund would provide funding for participating in exhibitions and promotion. Now we have a one-stop platform under the TIC. Now we would arrange study tours to other economies in the world. We'd also provide support in terms of renting convention venues. We'll also provide matching services for businesses to match up with opportunities. So that's the e-commerce and trade express. Thank you. Mr. Eric Yim. Thank you, President. The last year, since the enhancements in March, there's indeed a drop in the number of cases being approved under BUD Fund. Has the eligibility threshold been raised significantly? Now, at present, MSMEs are still struggling to successfully apply for the BUD Fund. Now, according to the main reply, the eligibility threshold has not changed substantially. So 1 year on, after the enhancement measures, does the Undersecretary have the statistic concerning the total amounts of application received and total amounts of funding approved? Is there a trend that you have received fewer applications? And have you approved fewer funding applications compared with before? Undersecretary, thank you. Now, the rationalization measures have been implemented in March last year. According to the figures, in 2025, the BUD Fund has received 5,350 applications. Compared with 2024, there is a drop of 26%. However, the number of applications still remains high. Now, among the rationalization measures, besides lowering the funding ratio, we have also enhanced the scheme. For example, allowing more frequent applications and also more targeted support for green transformation, reorganizing production line, and also AI projects. We have also increased the funding ceiling to $150,000 and expanded the geographical scope. These enhancements are very attractive to MSMEs. So we do expect more MSMEs to prudently review their resources and apply for the funding. We welcome MSMEs to continue to make good use of our resources. Thank you.
Question number 3, Ms. Nixie Lam. Thank you, President. Last month, the Office of the Ombudsman published an investigation report on the government's work in combating cruelty to animals, highlighting issues such as insufficient guidelines and hasty closure of cases in the enforcement work of the Agriculture, Fisheries and Conservation Department. In this connection, will the government inform this Council? 1. Given that the authorities briefed this Council on the key proposals to amend the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Ordinance in May 2022, of the reasons why the legislative amendment proposals have not yet been formally submitted, whether it will undertake to complete the amendments or implement implement them in phases within this term of government? If so, the timetable, if not, the reasons for that. 2. Whether the authorities will consider enacting an animal welfare law and prioritizing legislation to safeguard the welfare of domestic animals, ensuring that persons responsible for domestic animals must take reasonable measures. If so, of the details, if not, the reasons for that. 3. Given that cases of alleged cruelty to animals involving primary and secondary students have occurred one after another in recent months, of the details of the authorities' efforts to educate students on caring for animals, whether they have plans to provide training for teachers and update teaching materials, if so, of the details, if not, the reasons for that. Secretary for Environment and Ecology. President, the government has been curbing acts of cruelty to animals through stringent enforcement and preventive work such as education. On enforcement, under the current division of work within the government, the Hong Kong police force is responsible for handling emergency cases, whereas non-emergency cases reported through platforms including the 1823, such as reports on providing insufficient food, are followed up by the Agriculture, Fisheries and Conservation Department, or AFCD. The Office of the Ombudsman earlier published an investigation report on the government's work in combating cruelty to animals, which acknowledges that the AFCD's investigations into cases of cruelty to animals are currently constrained by its enforcement powers, as it cannot enter premises to carry out investigations, and put forward various recommendations regarding the AFCD's various areas of work. And that includes the follow-up of reports, case monitoring, and collaborative efforts to combat animal cruelty. The AFCD accepts all of the recommendations of the report and is actively following up on various improvement measures, including enhancement of case handling workflows, strengthening internal monitoring mechanisms, and enhancement of professional training for frontline staff. The department will continue to work with the police, the Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, or SPCA, and other organizations to intensify efforts to combat acts of cruelty to animals. Having consulted the Education Bureau and the Security Bureau, the reply to the question from Ms. Nixie Lam is as follows. 1. When studying amendments to the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Ordinance, Cap 169, the government understands there are divergent views among members of the public and stakeholders on the penalty levels for animal cruelty, enforcement powers of the department, and the regulation of the proper care of pet animals through legislation. In this connection, we shall adopt a prudent approach and study carefully. We note that the Society's current concern is largely focused on the need to intensify efforts to combat cruelty to animals. The Office of the Ombudsman's report also considers that there is less controversy in this area. It hence recommends amending the ordinance in phases, starting with increasing the penalty for cruelty to animals and strengthening the enforcement powers of AFCD staff. We will take into account the views of all parties in a holistic manner and strive to provide an update to the public within this year on the next phase of work. 2. We note that the community has yet to form consensus on whether legislation should be introduced to regulate the care and welfare of pets, but I believe you would all agree that publicity and education can play a significant role for pet owners to understand how to care for their pets and meet their needs for diet, living environment, and health, etc. The AFCD will continue to strengthen work in this aspect. Actively promote the message that pet keeping is a lifelong commitment, promoting pet adoption, educating the public the ideas of respect life and treat animals well, and be a responsible pet owner. Promotion channels include TV announcements in the public interest, AFCD's animal welfare thematic website, roving exhibitions, dog training courses, pet adoption days, etc. The AFCD and SPCA will jointly release a new series of education videos within next month to educate pet owners to properly care for their dogs and promote harmonious coexistence of the dogs and people nearby. 3. The government has strengthened the cross-departmental collaboration in fostering an awareness for caring for animals among the next generation in schools. The specific work includes 1. The AFCD conducts free education seminars for schools every year. For the past 3 years, more than 470 school seminars have been held with more than 15,000 students participating every year, and they have been met with enthusiastic responses. These seminars are primarily aimed at kindergartens and primary schools, focusing on cultivating awareness of caring for animals and helping students understand that owning a pet is a lifelong commitment. The seminars explain in simple terms the different needs of animals, things to consider before getting a pet, how to properly care for a pet, and pets should not be abandoned. Students are also encouraged to opt for pet adoptions instead of buying. 2. The Hong Kong Police Force officially implemented the Animal Watches program since 2021. It actively sets up animal care corners in schools and appoints Animal Watch program student ambassadors to care for the animals in the animal care corners. By collaborating with government departments and animal protection organizations, such as cooperating in organizing programs with the AFCD and Ocean Park, the program enhances students' pet care skills through diverse training. The police also partnered with the Jockey Club College of Veterinary Medicine and Life Sciences at the City University of Hong Kong to launch the AWP Student Mentorship Program, where students receive expert guidance on animal care from mentors with specialist knowledge. These activities deliver animal protection messages to students and cultivate their awareness on animal protection and prevention of cruelty to animals from an early stage. 3. At the same time, the Education Bureau has been committed to promoting the implementation of values education to help students understand, respect, and appreciate life and protect themselves, others, and animals through responsible words and actions. Learning elements related to life education have already been embedded across the kindergarten, primary, and secondary curricula, encompassing topics on animal protection. The Values Education Curriculum Framework further identifies strengthening life education as one of the major focuses for schools to strengthen and caring for animals, embracing empathy are suggested expected learning outcomes. On teacher training and resources, the Education Bureau continues to develop learning and teaching resources, including a themed webpage on animal protection, live event exemplars with themes on caring for animals, harmonious coexistence with nature, and living with pets for teachers' reference and use. The Bureau also provides relevant professional development programs, including experience sharing to enhance teachers' professional knowledge and teaching strategies in implementing life education. The AFCD and Education Bureau will continue to collaborate and provide appropriate teaching resources for teachers. President, the government has zero tolerance for acts of cruelty to animals. The AFCD will continue to jointly prevent and investigate suspected cases with the police and SPCA through multi-agency collaboration. The department will also deepen education and publicity efforts within schools and the community to foster the awareness of students and the general public on taking proper care of animals and prevention of cruelty to animals, such that pets would be taken care of and society would move towards harmonious coexistence of humans and animals. Ms. Nixie LAM. Well, President, according to the administration's reply, there are divergent views from the community on the penalty level of animal cruelty, enforcement powers, and regulation of proper care of pets. According to the government's paper, from April to July 2019, the government put forward a paper on enhancing animal welfare for public consultation. 88.6% of respondents agreed to introduce duty of care element in the legislative requirements to take care of animals. Only 0.6% of respondents were opposed to the idea. So I perplexed about the Secretary's reply. And I also like to follow up on the other parts to the reply. I see that only brief replies were given to parts 1 and 2 of my questions. So, in relation to animal welfare legislation, according to the paper, the government strives to give an account to the public about the next phase of work. I'm not too sure what it means. Does it mean that the public consultation will be published within this year, or will there be other papers available? Secretary. Well, I thank the member for the questions. I personally agree very strongly that pet owners are responsible for caring for their pets, and that the pets' needs should be met, including the diet, living environment, and the pet owners should take responsibility. However, if we want to take it further, we need to work out the arrangements with different organizations and stakeholders, and upon careful consultation, we have received feedback and divergent views from them. Now, there are members of the community who are not fond of animals or pets. So in relation to any proposal to enhance animal welfare and introducing the duty of care element, they may not support our proposal. What's more important is that we need to allay concerns. For example, even some pet owners may say that I live in a very small place, and after you enact legislation, I may not be able to meet the legislative requirements on, say, living environment for pets, and that I may be breaching the law. And there are also other stakeholders who are concerned about the new requirements, and that as a result, in order not to be caught by the law, they will have to abandon their pets, and this will lead to an even greater problem. We also need to take care of, for example, stray animals, and that if we take the rescues to see a vet, then we may be punished for not doing so in time, or not being accused of not taking good care of the rescued animals. So these are the concerns we need to address. In terms of our treatment to animals, I think the consensus that can be forged at this point is that we need to step up efforts in combating animal cruelty. In fact, this is also the Ombudsman's view. The Ombudsman has recommended implementing the proposal in phases, and we should take steps to tackle animal cruelty first. And that means we need to study the penalty level and see whether we need to enhance the penalties, and as well as giving the AFCD more enforcement powers, so that in phases we'll be able to step up our efforts. And this is our proposal. We will take it step by step. We'll come up with different options to consult groups and organizations, and we'll definitely take forward publicity and education through the work of other welfare groups. We will educate owners and members of the community about our treatment to stray dogs and cats. And in terms of legislation, I think that the primary concern is that we need to forge consensus in the community, and this is something we wish to achieve within this year. Next, Ms. Rebecca Chan. Thank you, President. The goal of amendments to the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Ordinance is to protect animals and to rescue as many animals as we can. Now, I'm concerned about some cases involving cruelty to animals. Very often the case will have to be concluded in the court, or the file will have to be closed at least before the animals can be rehomed. That happens not only to animal cruelty cases but also to the smuggling of pets. So my question for the administration is this: have you collected statistics about the time taken for the abused animal or smuggled animals to be put up for adoption by the public? How much time does it take? And will the government consider, at least before taking forward legislative amendments, shortening the time frame for adoption? Secretary, President, I do not have the figure at hand about the cases you mentioned. That is, cases involving prosecution and the animals being placed in our animal management center. Now, your suggestion is to shorten the waiting time for adoption. I need to go back and study this idea, because, say, when it comes to prosecution or the handling of cases, the status and condition of the dog in question may be part of the evidence. So if we allow rehoming there and then, it may have an impact on the prosecution work. But I must say that for all dogs and cats sent to our AMCs, they will be under proper care by the AFCD, so as not to cause them any further harm. As for the figure you asked for, I will supply that later. Yes, please do that, Secretary. Next, Mr. Kenneth Lau. Well, there have been very rampant cases in recent years on social media platforms. Some pet shops even claim that pets can be sent to Hong Kong without going through the quarantine procedures. And this is smuggling of cats and dogs, and that these animals will be placed, under the trucks and stored in hidden compartments, and this causes great suffering to animals. Some even died in the process. My question is whether the administration will step up intelligence gathering with the collaborative efforts of the AFCD and the Customs and Excise Department, so as to get better understanding of the smuggling situation and step up penalties, so as to prevent harm to the smuggled animals, and more importantly, to safeguard our position as an international quarantine center. Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Lau, for the question. Indeed, we are very concerned about the smuggling of cats and dogs, and that is why, starting from November 2023, the Customs and Excise Department has been working with the Shenzhen counterpart, and they have a joint enforcement action with a code name to combat the smuggling of animals. In fact, in 2025, we recorded 30 cases of smuggling of dogs and cats. The perpetrators were intercepted. Mr. Lau, you mentioned harm caused to animals in the process of smuggling, or that these animals might be trapped in a very small cage, and that itself constitutes cruelty to animal. So in that case, we don't just prosecute the perpetrator for smuggling, but for animal cruelty as well. In fact, last year we initiated 6 prosecutions on this basis. Next, Mr. Rock Chen. President, in the administration reply, it is said that the administration is taking forward legislative amendments in phases. Now, I also note that in the Ombudsman's investigation report, at the moment, our laws are not deterrent enough in penalizing those using illegal animal traps. So, Secretary, in preparing for legislative amendments, will you consider incorporating the use or possession of illegal animal traps so as to enhance penalty levels and increase deterrence? Secretary. Thank you, Member, for the question. Whilst we're considering legislative amendments, we'll also consider the matter in a holistic manner, including the handling of animal cruelty cases, AFCD's enforcement powers, and also penalties in relation to the use of animal traps. We will review all these matters. Now, in relation to illegal traps, last year, the AFCD conducted over 10,000 inspections. The AFCD seized over 80 so-called animal traps, and we also initiated 8 prosecutions. The AFCD will continue to conduct inspections stringently. Mr. Stephen Ho. Thank you, President. Like Ms. Nixie Lam, when it comes to caring for animals, the majority of Hong Kong people agree this is something we should do. That's more than 80% of respondents. However, we need to cater for the needs of different stakeholders. We must not underestimate the difficulty in the legislative process. We have owners of different animals, not only poultry or pigs, but also pets such as lizards, cats, and dogs. We have volunteers, breeders, owners. We need to be very careful. But still, this is something we should do. We need to promote the message of responsible ownership. We need to enhance education because many owners do not even have the capability of keeping pets. For example, during the Easter holidays, people may give out rabbits. So pets become gifts. The government should consider at the points of sales enhancing regulation. That is, when the vendor sells an animal to a buyer, there should be a questionnaire survey, there should be scores awarded to make sure that at least we can avoid low-grade errors and make sure that those who buy pets have the means to take care of them. President, now, as I said, one of our focuses is to enhance public education and publicity so that members of the public who intend to keep pets would understand what it means to be a pet owner and what it entails so that they can become responsible pet owners. We work with different groups. For example, you mentioned questionnaire surveys at the point of sales. In fact, we have similar publicity and education programs, and we'll consider further stepping up our efforts to enhance education. Reverend Peter Kun. Thank you, President. I want to follow up on what Ms. Nixie Lam just now said, that is about law enforcement. According to the administration's reply, there are divergent views, and the administration has put forward various reasons. But my question is, despite the divergent views, and that happens quite often, would there be an objective standard to promote legislative amendments? Because otherwise, this will be an endless wait. President, I fully agree with the member's question, and I am all for taking it forward. Now, in fact, the government is striving to enact legislation, but we need to first forge consensus in the community and strike a balance. Now, we may have read on the newspaper that there are many supportive views, but when we actually get in touch with stakeholder groups, there may be those who object quite strongly, and they are not few in number. And that is why we need to be prudent. We want to put our heads together and strive to achieve a balance. This is something we must do. Members have asked questions on, this is a question on combating cruelty to animals, and the member has asked questions about legislative timetable and the various proposals. Would the Secretary consider very carefully and make a due report to this Council?
Question for Mr. Lee Kwong-yu. Thank you, President. There are views pointing out that mainland cities have achieved relative success in innovation and technology, INT development, have all relied on the government's holistic involvement in establishing platforms, coordinating resources, and empowering enterprises, and that whether the government team has sufficient technology talents to participate in INT development initiatives will directly impact the effectiveness of policy implementation. In this connection, will the government inform this Council one of the current numbers of INT-related professionals in government professional grades, including but not limited to software engineers, programming, system and analysts, cybersecurity engineers, DevOps engineers, and cloud engineers, etc., with a breakdown by relevant government departments, as well as permanent and time-limited posts, and the proportion of staff. 2. Whether it will, with reference to the best industry benchmark ratio in the market, set targets for the manpower ratio of INT-related professionals in the government for the coming 3 years, and reserve buffer manpower while adhering to the principle of avoiding excessive recruitment so as to support future INT initiatives. And 3. Whether the government has invited technology experts with experience in large-scale projects to serve as consultants to assist various government departments in more effectively promoting digital and technological transformation, and whether it can provide cases to illustrate the positive impact of the involvement of such experts on the development of relative INT projects if no such arrangements were made in the past, whether the government has planned to introduce such a practice. Thank you. Secretary for Innovation, Technology and Industry. President, Talent is the core engine driving digital transformation. Therefore, while actively promoting the development of innovation and technology and digital transformation of the government, we will also ensure that the government team possesses the necessary knowledge and skills to embrace advanced technologies such as artificial intelligence and leverages market forces, thereby enhancing the efficiency and quality of public services. Regarding the question raised by Mr. Lee Kwong-yu, our reply is as follows. 1 and 2. The professional grades in the government that are directly related to information technology, as mentioned in the question, include analyst, programmer grade, the computer operator grade, and the data processor grade. These IT professionals are mainly responsible for the study, design, development, operation, and maintenance of information systems, as well as the provision of various technical services, including system and cybersecurity, project management support, and data entry tasks. The Digital Policy Office, DPO, is responsible for managing the aforementioned IT professional grades. Relevant staff members are deployed to different units within the DPO, mainly undertaking central coordination and facilitation roles such as promoting the development of digital government, enhancing data governance, and fostering industry collaboration. Staff members are also posted to various bureaus, departments across the government to provide system operations and project implementation, as well as to assist in the implementation of relevant digital policies and initiatives. As of end March this year, the establishment of the 3 grades was about 2,200 in total. The relevant figures and breakdown by BDs are set out at Annex. Promoting the development of INT and AI is not the sole responsibility of IT professional grades. It also requires the participation of the entire civil service and different sectors of society. In fact, INT-related work is diverse in nature, encompassing a wide range of policy areas, technical domains, and implementation arrangements, and involving various professions. The technological content is no longer confined to traditional IT. At the same time, BDs also attach great importance to providing comprehensive support and enabling conditions for various sectors. Hence, when assessing the overall human resources and capabilities of the government in driving INT transformation, one should not focus solely on individual establishment figures or set rigid targets for resource allocation. To address the demands of various IT, digital transformation, and INT projects, in addition to employing civil servants, BDs also engage contract staff or procure services from contractors having regard to operational needs, project nature, technology type, professional requirements, and resource allocation priorities. BD may also flexibly redeploy existing manpower resources to meet operational demands. Beyond staff recruitment and outsourcing arrangements, the government also emphasizes enhancement and upgrade of skills of its manpower. Through strengthened training, staff are equipped with the latest skills and market practices to become versatile talent, thereby supporting the increasingly important work of government digital transformation and technology innovation. Regarding the third part of Mr. Lee's question, under the leadership of the AI Efficacy Enhancement Team, the DPO has established a dedicated task force and invited technology companies with experience in large-scale projects to assist government departments in designing and implementing AI-driven efficacy enhancement projects. To further support the government's digital transformation process, the DPO will bring in industry experts in AI and data science alongside market-leading technologies to provide technical support and strategic advisory services and to assist in training key talents across different grades. This will help sustain and scale up AI projects while building up the government's internal AI talent pool. These industry experts are gradually coming on board, adopting a hand-holding approach through project management and implementation. They will enhance the ability of government personnel responsible for AI projects to identify cutting-edge technologies and apply AI effectively in practice. This will ensure that the government's digital and technological transformation projects better meet user needs and industry standards. The projects under this initiative will be progressively rolled out this year. Thank you, President. Mr. Lee Kwong-yu. Thank you, President. I'm glad that the Secretary said that the 3 grades are posted to different BDs for digitalization and coordination work. I look forward to more digital measures that makes things more convenient for the people. The administration said that they offer various training to traditional IT experts in the government, including courses on AI and big data. I hope that the government will give us figures and information on the number of hours of the courses, the content, and the number of people that have undergone training. Are these training mandatory in nature? Are we going to ask the civil service to undergo skills tests or implement the certification systems? If there is not such an arrangement, I wonder if the government will come up with skill upgrading programs for civil servants in the coming 2 years so that the civil servants have the capabilities to promote digital transformation and smart city initiative. Secretary, thank you, Mr. Lee, for the question. The government provide diversified training to IT and INT staff in the government so that they can be equipped with the latest skills and market practices to support the work of government digital transformation. These cover cybersecurity, cyber management, and digital transformation. We also have regards to the rapid development of AI provided courses on this area. The Digital Policy Office offer diversified training for IT civil service that cover areas such as blockchain, cloud computing, big data, cybersecurity, smart city, digital literacy, so on and so forth. This is how we can enhance the technical skills of the civil servants. In 2025-26, DPO arranged 130 courses related to digital technology. Over 3,000 civil servants participated in the courses. To speed up the construction of a smart government, the Digital Policy Office have been working with the Civil Service Academy by offering regular seminars and trainings to enhance the capabilities of management and principal officers so that they can enhance their skills in using digital technology. These seminars and courses cover areas such as cybersecurity. This allows civil servants of various BDs better make use of technology. As at February 2026, the DPO have organized 3 thematic seminars covering 70 BDs, senior management staff. In the future, the government will speed up digital transformation towards the goal of becoming a digital or smart government. We may invite professional teams to join the government. We adopt a hand-holding approach to comprehensively upgrade the skills of civil servants in terms of digital technology. Mr. Ng Won-kit. Thank you, President. The administration said just now when we promote INT, they may engage contractors or outsource some of the services. However, some of the contractors, in order to win the tender, they may suppress their cost and abuse the outsourced workers by offering them very low salary or not offering them a career progression ladder. This will cause wastage to the INT practitioners in Hong Kong and affect the stability of government service. When government procures service, apart from technical scores or scores on marks, is the government also going to assess the remuneration offered to the staff by the contractors? Secretary. Thank you for the question. the remuneration of NCSC staff is much higher than the market level. The welfare and the salary of these outsourced workers are decided by the contractors based on the market demand and supply. They are well protected by the employment ordinance. To protect the rights of these outsourced workers, take DPO as an example. In the procurement procedures, we ask the contractors to undertake that they will offer remuneration better than what's required in the employment ordinance, such as offering medical insurance and training. At the same time, the DPO will conduct a random check on the contractors and ask them to make regular report. If they detect any problems, they will issue a notification letters to the contractors. When the contractors receive 3 of such notification letters, the government have the right to end the service. And the records of non-compliance will affect the contractors in bidding future government projects. Mr. Duncan Chiu. Thank you, President. After clear interest, I am the Deputy Chair of the AI Advocacy Enhancement Team. The DPO enhances the skills of civil servants, as mentioned in the administration's reply. We know that the DPO was the former OGCIO and the efficiency unit. It used to be rather passive. They answer questions from the BDs, but I wonder if they're going to take a more proactive role. Instead of just answering questions when put by BDs, will they, say, review the work process of government? And is there any work done by the DPO to enhance efficiency? Secretary, thank you. One of the goals of establishing a DPO is to enhance their role in leading the digital transformation of the government. Currently, the DPO is responsible for managing the IT grade to promote digital transformation, build a smart government, and play a coordination and facilitation roles. Enhance data governance, fostering industry collaboration, so on and so forth. Staff members of the DPO are posted to various BDs across government to support system operations and project implementation. This will make sure that every BDs are working towards the same goal in terms of digital transformation. Apart from making sure that the relevant purposes or goals are implemented, under the leadership of AI Advocacy Enhancement Team, the DPO established a dedicated task force in adopting a hand-holding approach through project management and implementation approach by enhancing the ability of government personnel responsible for AI projects to identify cutting-edge technologies. These task force involved industry experts. This will ensure that the government's digital and technological transformation can meet user needs and industry standards. This is also how we can make sure that the resources are well used and enhance the government efficiency. We hope that the DPO will play a clearer leader and coordinator role in the process of digital transformation of the government. I know that Mr. Chiu is the deputy head of the AI advocacy team. I hope that he will give us further guidance. Thank you. Mr. Holden Chow. Thank you, President. The Secretary said very clear in the main reply that the Digital Policy Office and the contractors in their agreements have clear requirements. Take a EMPF platform as an example. We all know that when it was first launched, there were many complaints. The staff of the EMPF platform were not able to answer the questions. Over a period of time, we asked the contractors to add additional manpower to address the problems. The secretary said that if the contractors underperform, you can end the contract. But with resources already invested, it's perhaps difficult for us to end the contract. I think that we need to make it clear to the contractors that they need to monitor the feedback from the DBDs. I think that this is something that the government can look into. Secretary, thank you, Mr. Chow, for the question. Well, Mr. Chow's question is in line with what we're working towards. The reality is that the DPO now proactively seek out contractors to undertake the services. BDs will identify suitable contractors according to their needs. According to existing rules, they need to be reviewed by the DPOs. You just now talked about a public organization that's under the purview of the relevant bureau. The DPO plays a supervisory and leading role in certain digital projects. When there's problems, then the DPO will intervene. Through IM Smart Platform, problems can be solved. Apart from central coordination and monitoring, the DPO also offer technical advice. Mr. Aaron Bok. Thank you, President. I thank Mr. Lee Kwong-yu for putting this question. Apart from the existing professional grades in many different government departments, including works departments, they offer training to their civil servants on, say, digitalization of works design. I wonder if the government has offered some similar trainings for works department so that they can get hold of the latest information and knowledge. Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Bok, for the question. Currently, we organize courses that target the entire government that also, of course, cover works department. Regarding the specific professional areas that you mentioned, under different circumstances, different problems may arise. We welcome departments raise their needs to the DPO so that we can work together. Take the AI advocacy enhancement team as an example. We have listed out some major projects that target different departments. We try to address the bottlenecks and problems faced by specific departments. Now we are rolling out many livelihood-related projects. How can we address some of the problems that may arise? We have introduced a top-notch technology experts to work with the DPO so that we can work hand in hand to launch these IT projects. We'll announce the relevant details in due course. As far as I understand, some of the major projects listed out are works related. We will make announcement in due course. Professor William Wong. Thank you, President. In order for us to promote INT, we need IP transformation experts. I wonder if we have enough experts in the government. If not, are we going to do more training or introduce more such talents? Secretary, thank you, Professor Wong, for the question. In the civil service establishment, we have 2,200 IT-related civil servants. This is definitely not enough. So different departments, including DPO, may outsource our service. Altogether, we have 4,300 staff on IT. So the figures may change in the future. Apart from digitalization, we may introduce experts from various companies to work hand in hand in strengthening government's IT standards.
Question 5, Ms. Michelle Tang. Thank you. In this direct investigation operation report on the government's work on landslide prevention and mitigation and management of government slopes published in January this year, the Office of the Ombudsman put forward a series of recommendations and indicated that in the second stage of the investigation, it would examine the government's determination of slope maintenance responsibility and risk management of private slopes. In this connection, will the government inform this council? 1. Of the follow-up work undertaken by the government in response to the recommendations set out in the aforesaid report, given that in the reply to a question raised by a member of this council on the estimates of expenditure for the financial year 2026-27, the government said it would enhance the landslip prevention and mitigation program. Whether the measures under the program will include the application of latest technologies such as AI and data management to strengthen slope safety management, if so, of the details, if not the reasons for that. 2. As it's learned that disputes frequently arise over maintenance responsibility for private man-made slopes, and that ordinary owners or small property management companies may not possess the professional knowledge or experience to properly manage and maintain such slopes. Whether the government has specific measures in place to assist owners in clarifying and fulfilling the maintenance responsibility. And 3, whether the relevant government departments will strengthen their collaboration to enhance the risk management and monitoring of private slopes. If so, of the details, if not the reasons for that. Secretary for Development. President, the Development Bureau and its subordinate departments have been enhancing slope safety. In January this year, the Office of the Ombudsman released the report on the direct investigation into the government's work on landslide prevention and mitigation and management of government slopes, which recognized the work of the relevant government departments. The current landslide risk in Hong Kong has been substantially lowered compared with the early years. My respective replies to the various parts of Ms. Tang's question are as follows. Part 1. The office recommended that the government continue to optimize risk assessment and safety management for man-made slopes and natural hillsides, and strengthen cross-departmental data sharing and technology application to address landslide risks brought by extreme weather. The CEDD, Civil Engineering and Development Department, has formulated multiple measures in response to the office's recommendations to strengthen Hong Kong's capability in responding to landslide risks and enhance slope safety. The CEDD will continue to implement the landslip prevention and mitigation program. Starting from 2025, the CEDD has been progressively increasing the annual target output of the program. Under the risk-based approach, priority is given to the risk management of man-made slopes located adjacent to sole vehicular access roads, which could have relatively high potential impacts on the daily lives of citizens. The CEDD is rolling out the Smart Slope Catalog this year, expanding the database to cover natural hillsides that may affect existing facilities and to integrate mitigation works records, maintenance records, rainfall data, landslide history, etc. The catalog utilizes AI and big data analytics to enhance management and monitoring efficiency. For example, the CEDD will commission the AI landslip warning system this year, which integrates Hong Kong's rainfall data and information in the Smart Slope Catalog and applies AI analytics to further enhance the capability for landslide risk assessment.
The CEDD will continue to closely monitor technological advancements and develop and introduce innovative technologies. This includes using a drone management system for slope monitoring and emergency management to strengthen data collection and analytics capabilities. Part 2 of the question. Like private properties, owners are responsible for the maintenance and repair of private man-made slopes. In Hong Kong, there are about 16,000 private man-made slopes and over 6,000 man-made slopes with mixed responsibilities, where the government and private owners are responsible for different parts of the slopes. The maintenance responsibilities for most of these slopes are clearly stipulated in the land lease for the private properties. As the designated department for determining maintenance responsibilities of private man-made slopes, the Lands Department has uploaded the determination results to the Slope Maintenance Responsibility Information System to facilitate public inspection. The Lands Department plans to issue notices in batches starting from the second quarter this year to inform owners of the determination results proactively, ensuring that they are aware of their maintenance responsibilities. The Development Bureau will provide technical and financial support in several areas to assist owners in fulfilling their maintenance responsibilities. First, they assist owners in identifying man-made slopes that pose safety risks and require follow-up. The CEDD selects private slopes annually for safety screening studies based on a risk-based approach. If there are signs of significant damage or potential hazards, the Buildings Department will issue a dangerous hillside order, requiring private owners to conduct investigation and repair works. After a dangerous hillside order is issued, the Buildings Department will proactively arrange on-site inspections with the owners and their appointed professionals and explain the compliance requirements and procedures. For cases where no substantial progress has been made for a long time past the deadline, the Buildings Department will carry out default works while taking prosecution action. Second, they provide technical and financial support. The CEDD has published several publications related to slope maintenance, including the Layman's Guide to Slope Maintenance and Geo Guide 5 Guide to Slope Maintenance. Also, the CEDD and BD assisted the Property Management Services Authority in formulating a slope management work best practice guide for the industry. The BD's Building Safety Loan Scheme and the Urban Renewal Authority's Integrated Building Rehabilitation Assistance Scheme provide financial support to eligible owners for carrying out maintenance works. Third, they strengthen public awareness and education. The government will continue to enhance public awareness and education through various channels. For example, the BD has uploaded short videos on slope safety on its website and social media platforms. Different government departments will hold seminars and exhibitions to increase the awareness of owners corporations, and property management companies regarding slope safety management. Third part of the question. As mentioned regarding the risk management of private slopes, the Lands Department is responsible for identifying maintenance responsibilities. The CEDD selects private slopes for safety screening studies, and the Buildings Department is responsible for enforcement work regarding dangerous hillside orders. The working group that comprises the three above departments hold regular meetings at least twice a year to resolve complex cases and disputes. We will continue to, through this high-level working group, make sure that the slope management is done effectively. Ms. Michelle Tang. Thank you, President. As a part of the engineering sector, I think that the Development Bureau and the subordinate departments have been working to enhance slope safety in Hong Kong, and their efforts deserve our recognition. Just now, the Secretary said in her major reply that on risk management of man-made private slopes, the Lands Department, the Buildings Department, and the CEDD have their own roles to play, and that the high-level working group holds regular meetings at least twice a year to resolve complex cases and responsibility disputes. My question is, will the Secretary consider having the working group hold a meeting every quarter? If the works could not be completed on schedule, will the government consider engaging engineering consultants on the market to enhance the efficiency of dealing with dangerous hillside orders and implementing the relevant works? Secretary, currently, this high-level working group has to hold meetings at least twice a year, and that's the minimum number. Our requirement is that where necessary, they will have to hold meetings. Just now, the member asked whether they could hold more meetings. Well, this can definitely be done, but I believe what matters is that they have to see if there is a need to do so. The working group should hold meetings where necessary instead of having just 2 meetings a year. So instead of having 1 meeting every quarter, there might be more meetings every quarter. As for whether we will leverage private market forces, currently there are some government departments that help the working group carry out their work. For example, if they have to issue letters, which is a rather simple task, we outsource the services to other parties. Moving forward, we will continue to monitor the needs and demands. If necessary, we will leverage market forces. Ms. Christine Fong. Thank you, President. Owners often said it is hard for them to delineate maintenance responsibilities of private man-made slopes. Just now, the Secretary said that there are about 16,000 private man-made slopes, and there are over 6,000 man-made slopes with mixed responsibilities. There is the SMRS, Maintenance Information System. However, there are unregistered slopes as well as natural hillsides. There are slopes in the system that show that the proxy agents are not appropriate or suitable. According to the administration, it will provide more information this year. My question is, will the government enhance the interdepartmental platform to help owners delineate the maintenance responsibilities more clearly so as to reduce the potential hazards? And will the government streamline the subsidy disbursement process and reduce the administration fee by 20% for elderly people? Secretary. The purpose of the determination system is that government departments have to have this information, not to mention private owners of man-made slopes. Well, this system concerns mainly man-made slopes. And this is true. There are also natural hillsides, and we think that it is appropriate for housing estates nearby to conduct investigation works as well as maintenance and repairs. In future, would it be possible for us to include information of natural hillsides into the system? Well, we will look into this. However, I think what matters is, as I mentioned in my major reply, apart from simply including the information into the system, well, we should not expect owners to check the information regularly. We have to reach out to owners proactively and tell them the information. The Lands Department will, within this year, carry out such work. The member just now asked whether this interdepartmental platform could streamline the relevant works procedure. We will definitely do so. To give you an example, today we talk about private man-made slopes. Sometimes owners want to carry out maintenance and repair works, but adjacent to the man-made slopes there are government lands, and they may have to go through the government lands to enter these private man-made slopes. In the past, the procedure was rather complicated. All owners would have to agree, and the owner concerned will have to apply to the government for permission. Recently, we have simplified the relevant procedures. If you want to enter government lands for the purpose of maintaining or repairing private slopes, the process is simplified. Also, for other government departments that want to enter government land for this purpose, you will only have to get one-time permission. And this is only one example. We have been looking for room to further streamline or simplify the procedure. As for owners that fail to comply with the requirements and need the government to carry out the works for them instead, well, we will have to ask owners to pay the surcharge. We cannot simply encourage people to use government services for free or pay the market rate. Well, will we exempt elderly people from paying the surcharge? Well, there are risks incurred. This is because elderly owners have their responsibilities as well. We will have to look at the cases on a case-by-case basis. Mr. Kisan-yang. Slope risks are not only personal or individual problems. In the past, I helped owners' corporations to deal with risks concerning slopes, such as the hillside behind Kowloon North. Whenever there is torrential rain, there might be landslides that would affect Longcheng Road and cause serious floods. Earlier, I visited the above slopes with the undersecretary, and the administration said they would combat illegal cultivation and that they would deploy drones for regular inspections. This is an effective method so that they could identify the problem immediately. While the administration said it would deploy drones, there could still be blind spots that could not be identified or detected by drones. Will the administration consider deploying robot dogs so as to make sure that any hazard could be detected? Secretary, I think a simple answer is yes. Robots have been widely made use of by our works departments. We make use of robots to, for example, inspect our drainage system. For hillsides or slopes where appropriate, we'll definitely deploy drones. Next, Mr. Jimmy Ng. There are many man-made slopes in Hong Kong because of the hilly terrain in Hong Kong. These slopes have to be managed by multiple departments, and sometimes because of unclear division of work, maintenance and repair works are affected and also causes slope safety issues. Will there be a mechanism to step up communication among the different government departments? Will there be a steering committee or supervisory committee to coordinate the efforts of various departments? Secretary. Some man-made slopes are managed by private owners or governments, but the member's question seems to be that there is unclear division of work on the management of government's man-made slopes. Theoretically, that shouldn't be the case. This is because we have the determination system that shows clearly which government department is responsible for which man-made slope. In the past, occasionally there were cases where responsibilities were unclear. What matters is that we should not let this drag on. We have to identify the government departments responsible, and if annual inspection is required, then we have to do so. Just now I mentioned that there is a high-level interdepartmental working group that comprises 3 departments, and one of their duties is to determine the responsibilities. These 3 departments are under the Development Bureau. Our instruction for these 3 departments is that if the responsibilities could not be determined, then the case will have to be escalated to the Development Bureau, or even to myself if the case warrants it. So we will make use of the existing mechanism well. Ms. Judy Chen, President, I thank the Development Bureau and its subordinate departments. It has been providing financial support and subsidies to a lot of repair works. We're talking about slopes, and compared to fire services or fire safety as well as lift safety, slope repairs cost a lot more. The Secretary said owners have the responsibility to manage the private slopes as well. However, a lot of the owners have retired. Take the Central and Western District as an example. A lot of the residential developments encroach on hillsides. Same for Pok Fu Lam. And if owners have to meet the eligibility to get the subsidies, the threshold is very high. Will the Secretary consider lowering the threshold so that retired owners would benefit from the existing subsidy schemes? Secretary, we are willing to explore this. Recently, the CEDD, under the Landslip Prevention and Mitigation Program, selects private man-made slopes every year for safety screening studies to see if there are any potential hazards to the man-made slopes and decide what kind of mitigation measures will have to be implemented. If you look at the recent data, you can see that there are some mitigation measures required for private man-made slopes. And then we can, based on the information, decide what are the costs incurred. And then we can decide whether the current threshold of our subsidy schemes are appropriate. We have to see whether the subsidy offered by us can help ease the burden of owners. So we're based on the existing information to decide on the threshold. Mr. Aaron Bok. We have torrential rains recently. With climate change and global warming, we have typhoons every year, and there will be more frequent torrential rains. Last July and August, there were 5 black rainstorm warnings, and that could pose hazards to our slopes. The 618 landslides happened because there was a landslide at Po Shan Trail and 67 people died. And in 2008, because of a torrential rain, a highway in Lantau was blocked for 7 hours, and about 10,000 people were affected as they were traveling to the airport. I want to know what measures have been put in place by the government given the extreme weather as well as global warming to reduce losses of people's property and lives. Secretary, there have been torrential rains and therefore landslides as well. I want to share some statistics with you. Over the past few years, the number of landslides have dropped significantly compared to the past. Same for fatalities. Over the past 16 years, there were landslides every year. There were only 2 years during which casualties were caused. Of course, we have to minimize any casualties, but we managed to lower the risk over the past decade. This is because about 10 years ago, we rolled out the Landslide Preventive Measures Program, and since then, every year, we have been selecting man-made slopes for upgrading works. We also have been selecting slopes for studies, and recent years, we have been focusing more on natural hillsides. During the rainy seasons of the past few years, we put in place an important measure, and one of the measures is to set up these smart database. We integrate the information we have over the past few years during rainy seasons so that we can project what will happen, and then we can be more prepared. We have already identified about 500 man-made slopes. Every time when there are torrential rains, there might be high risks to these 500 slopes. So what do we deal with them? Every time when rainy season comes, we review these 500 slopes. Apart from the annual inspections as well as the major inspections carried out every 5 years, before and after each rainy season every year, we check these 500 slopes that are of higher risks. Also, the CEDD has been making use of man-made satellites. That is, apart from deploying drones, we also make use of man-made satellites to help us monitor the slopes so that we can be more prepared. Of course, we have to strive for excellence and keep on improving. Thank you.
Last question seeking an oral reply, Mr. Tang Ka-piu. Thank you, President. Co-using water body is a key measure for the diversified development of the second CBD in Kowloon East. However, it is learned that some organizations face restrictions in setting up facilities such as spectator stands, speed rafts, landing ramps, and steps, hereinafter referred to as ancillary facilities, when organizing water sports activities in the waters of the Kwun Tong Typhoon Shelter, making it difficult to organize activities on an ongoing basis and conduct regular training. Furthermore, the lack of systematic management of the large number of vessels that have long been berthed at the Typhoon Shelter also limits the room for the development of water sports activities. In this connection, will the government inform this council? 1. Given that the existing legislation enables the government to carry out specified harbor enhancement works through streamlined procedures, whether the government has plans to construct additional ancillary facilities along the shore of Typhoon Shelter to facilitate the organization of water sports activities. If so, of the details, if not, the reasons for that. 2. Whether it will review afresh the functions and positioning of the Typhoon Shelter, and by taking the opportunity arising from the planning of the Yaotong Bay Comprehensive Development Area, study the construction of breakwater in Yaotong Bay to relocate the yachts from the Typhoon Shelter there for berthing, as well as setting up a yacht club to manage them centrally so as to promote the development of the yacht economy. And 3, given that according to the information on the webpage of the Energizing Kowloon East office, the government is studying the construction of a bridge linking between the former Kai-tak runway and the Kwun Tong promenade, of the progress of the study and the proposed completion date for the bridge. Secretary for Development. President, in response to Mr. Tang Ka-piu's question, after consulting the Culture, Sports and Tourism Bureau, the Transport and Logistics Bureau, the Leisure and Cultural Services Department, and the Marine Department, the Development Bureau's reply is as follows. 1. The north shore of the Kwun Tong Typhoon Shelter is the Kwun Tong Promenade, while the south shore is the Kai-tak Promenade. To support various water activities at the Typhoon Shelter and facilitate public viewing, a wooden boardwalk of about 1 kilometer in length is provided along the waterfront of the Kwun Tong Promenade. Besides performance stage and 2 spectator seating areas facing the Typhoon Shelter, each accommodating about 200 people, are also provided. The Kai-tak Promenade features glass balustrades along the waterfront for the public to view water activities and sports events. The Kai-tak Promenade also provides restrooms with shower facilities to facilitate public use and organizations hosting of activities. In terms of landing facilities, there are 2 sets of landing facilities within the Kwun Tong Typhoon Shelter. And with the Kowloon Go Down redevelopment project, we will have an additional set of landing steps constructed for public use. It is expected to be completed by 2028. Right now, along the edge of the Kwun Tong Promenade, there are 5 glass gates connected to floating platforms to facilitate embarking and disembarking of participants of water activities. Furthermore, we have the organizations of water sports being able to apply for installing facilities according to their needs. For example, a floating platform has been installed by the Hong Kong Water Sports Council, located at the Kai-tak Promenade. The 2 other training centers also propose to install floating platforms for daily training purpose. The relevant departments are communicating with the groups on additional facilities and are more than willing to provide facilitation. According to the Transport Logistics Bureau and Marine Department, the relevant typhoon shelter continues to perform its function by providing the necessary mooring facilities for local vessels and providing a safe refuge during inclement weather conditions. We see daily and during typhoon periods a large number of vessels berthing in the typhoon shelter. We want to make sure vessels can co-use the water body during non-typhoon days. The Marine Department and the EKEO Energizing Kowloon East Office have promulgated the guidelines for co-using Kwun Tong Typhoon Shelter. In 2018, the Marine Department has widened the passageway along the lower shore of the typhoon shelter from 50 meters to 100 meters to release more space to facilitate water recreational activities. As we see more water recreational activities undertaken in the typhoon shelter, and we also note that there are some major sports planned to be staged in the typhoon shelter in future. The Marine Department and the EKEO are currently exploring an enhanced water body co-use proposal and are gathering views from relevant stakeholders. We strive to conduct consultation with the Kwun Tong District Council and other relevant groups in Q4 of this year, tentatively. As for Yau Tong Bay, the land adjacent to its water body is mostly under private ownership, planned as comprehensive development area to facilitate private projects redevelopment for residential and commercial uses. Professional yacht berthing facility is not specified. However, the government is open to proposals of yacht club development in Yau Tong Bay, and landowners can develop yacht berthing related landside facilities at specific locations within the relevant area through planning application. Currently, the government plans to promote yacht tourism at 3 locations, namely the Aberdeen Typhoon Shelter Expansion Area, the Islam Quarry Area, and the Hong Kong Station Waterfront Area, through open tender to allow private enterprises to construct and operate the yacht berthing facilities under commercial mechanism in disposal of lands together with the adjacent water bodies. Additionally, the development of the yacht bay at the airport city will provide additional berths. The Hong Kong Airport Authority is currently inviting expressions of interest. Third, the government is studying the construction of a bridge across the Kwun Tong Typhoon Shelter to provide a direct linkage between the former Kai Tak runway area and Kwun Tong, thereby improving the external transportation connectivity of the former runway area. Originally, the government proposed to construct a pedestrian-cum-cyclist bridge across the typhoon shelter. In view of the public comments received, the study will include the option of adding vehicular lanes and will take into consideration the overall planning and transportation arrangements of the Kai Tak development area. We will have regard to the latest circumstances and the ancillary facilities in terms of transportation infrastructure to see with the scale of the expanded bridge whether it will affect water-based recreational activities in the typhoon shelter. Once the proposals are formulated, we will consult relevant stakeholders at an appropriate time. Thank you. Mr. Tang Ka-piu. Regarding the Secretary's reply in 3 parts, I am quite happy. But I have a follow-up question. When I was young, when I was rowing as a student of the CUHK in Shingmun River, I rowed in the river for 3 years. I think the Kwun Tong Typhoon Shelter as a water body is very suitable to be developed as a major water sports hub, even on a world level. I want to make sure whether on land or at sea, the different departments have the commitment to develop along this vision. Now, the Water Sports Council has set up floating platforms at the Kai Tang Promenade for rowing and other water activities. Can we have similar facilities in Kwun Tong so that for the 300,000 workers working in Kwun Tong and Kowloon Bay can also row in the area and perhaps even do dragon boat racing? Secretary, in the Kwun Tong Typhoon Shelter, as I said earlier, there are 3 organizations that have some short-term tenancy sites for their operations, and one of them has successfully requested and granted approval for floating platforms to be installed. We have another application that faced some challenges and approval was not granted. We are coordinating relevant departments, specifically the Marine Department, to adopt a more facilitating attitude, especially if we want to promote water activities in the area, because we will definitely need floating platforms for such activities. The location is not at the center of the water body. We believe we have a good chance of success with such application going through. The EKEO is coordinating with the Marine Department to try to facilitate this. Thank you. Professor Priscilla Lang. Thank you, President. Ever since I've become a LegCo member, I have been promoting for a water-friendly culture. And the dream is to have in Kowloon West, specifically Kai Tak, become what it is today. We will have the boardwalk, we have the floating platforms to promote water friendliness for citizens as well as the development of yacht economy. Starting from 2011, I have been investigating some black spots for poor water quality. If we want citizens to make use of the waterfront, if we want to promote co-use of water body, water quality is very important. I've visited Kai Tak on multiple occasions, especially in Kowloon East. There were bouts where we see a lot of dead fish, and the odor was intolerable. And I found this to be the case when I was on a yacht on a certain occasion. When we promote the development of a yacht economy, how can we make sure sea breeze in the area won't bring about bad odor, but a breath of fresh air? Thank you, President. Thank you, member, for asking the relevant question. When we want to make good use of the water body, the premise, of course, is to have sustained excellent water quality. For example, in Kwun Tong Typhoon Shelter, we have already hosted competitions of different scales, even world-class competitions. I think this demonstrates people have confidence in the water quality in the area. To promote the hosting of more events in the area, I think with the members' kind reminder, even if for just once we have water quality issues, it can really scare away people. We actually have great communication with the Drainage Services Department, who is responsible for this. Whenever we have water activities, for example, some yacht club activities and other water sports events, we will have adequate assessments. We also have a regulatory monitoring mechanism to ensure water quality in the specific areas. Thank you. Mr. Chen Pui-kong. Thank you, President, I have all along paid attention to the development of the Kowloon Promenade and in general Kowloon East. So the government has plans to link the former Kai Tak runway area and Kowloon. On top of that, can we explore other options such as water taxis or having the Kai Tak transit system connect to the Kai Tak runway area and Kowloon Promenade? This will provide convenience to locals and visitors. It can also boost economic activities in the area. Secretary, thank you, member, for the question. The Development Bureau is working with the Transport and Logistics Bureau on this, and as you may understand, the TLB is currently conducting tendering for the smart and green mass transit system in Kai Tak. So the project is definitely there. It's a matter of whether we can provide further convenience. We also have some landing facilities in the area. We already said before, we have relaxed restrictions in the protection of harbor ordinance. With that, whether we can have more landing facilities in different locations. We want to have more landing facilities. One of the visions is to facilitate the development of water taxis. In Kowloon East, the Harbor Office recently commenced a study to make use of the relaxed protection of harbor ordinance to have more facilities in East Kowloon, specifically landing facilities, and how we can facilitate the development of water taxis. We will work with the Transport and Logistics Bureau on this. Mr. Chan Pak-chi, President, the Secretary's reply said the relevant typhoon shelter will continue to maintain its function to provide berthing facilities for local vessels and provide a refuge in inclement weather conditions. I want to ask, with the enhanced proposal, what are the government's plans for the management of berth vessels? Thank you. Secretary, President, with the enhanced proposal, the Marine Department will go along two directions. When we have some major events, I believe some organizations already announced next year they will have an international dragon boat competition in this specific water body. As we are already clear about what is going to happen for this project, we know how big a venue they would need. We can, based on that, coordinate with the specific vessels who are making use of the body. In the long term, we would also see if there can be enhancement in coordination of berthing areas. I talked about specifically we have a passageway that is 100 meters wide. Outside the passageway, vessels can berth at pretty much any location. We will see if we can really make this free area smaller during non-typhoon periods. So we'll think about what we can do in the free berthing zones. But of course, this will affect vessels that are berthing in the typhoon shelter during non-typhoon periods. So the Marine Department is looking at whether it will implement targeted measures or have some long-term arrangements. It is about management of vessels' emission, whether it will continue to be free like it is right now, or whether there is some sort of management like car parks. The Transport and Logistics Bureau and the Marine Department are working on this. Thank you. Mr. Vincent Ching, I also want to ask about the management of typhoon shelter. We talked about in the question how there is lack of proper management in typhoon shelter. In fact, typhoon shelters in Tokawan and Yangmate also have some vessels that will continue to berth at the typhoon shelters for more than a year. Can we set the maximum period that vessels can berth in typhoon shelters? If it will be long, can we ask them to berth elsewhere to make sure we have our typhoon shelters used for their purposes? Like I said earlier, I would have to just convey the views to the Transport and Logistics Bureau and the Marine Department, because the designation and management of typhoon shelters are under the purview of the TLB and Marine Department. But I think it is now a good timing for us to explore how for typhoon shelter, as we are to hold the International Dragon Boat competition next year, to see which of the two options I mentioned earlier, say whether in the long term we will have a smaller free berthing area for vessels, and how we are going to deal with vessels that are berthed in the typhoon shelter in the long term. The TLB and the Marine Department will have a pragmatic approach in discussing the general arrangements in typhoon shelter. We have 4 other members who are waiting to speak, but time is up. Please follow up on other occasions.
That concludes the questions.